Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Be Extraordinary podcast. It's been a minute. It's so good to see you guys.
You too, man. Thanks.
Oh man, we've got a special episode for you guys today that are tuning in from home. So if you're traveling in your car and you're on your way somewhere, be careful. You might not get out, because if you love entrepreneurship, the grind, the hustle, sales, progress, achievement, and just awesome stories, you're in for a treat today. We've got Mr. Sebastian Barrero with us today. And this is a little different today because a lot of times we've got people that have been at the end of their journey on this show, who have 20, 30, 40 years worth of experience and have all these incredible accolades, and we want to learn from their experience. But this one today is a little different, gentlemen. We have Sebastian. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Very humbled.
Absolutely. So, Sebastian, I'll let Rod Erb take over and take this story, but Sebastian is 16 years old today on his entrepreneurial hustle, and a lot of his story sparked the interest of not only Rod, but the three of us in regards to just what it takes to be out there and sling it, and that there really isn't an age cap on your ability to go out and enterprise something and make an impact and be able to contribute and be compensated for it. So, man, I relate a lot to your story. We'll get into it because I've just always loved just the side hustles and this, the deal at a young age and being able to make a buck and what can I do to add value and make some money, and it really translates into now with running the agency. All those lessons add up, and I just think about what the runway looks like for you starting at such a young age and have built a pretty nice little business for yourself. So before we get into kind of how you got there, I wanted to maybe, Rod, if you could give some context in regard to how you guys met.
Yeah. It was a few months ago, 2-3 months ago, Brett Eddy, who's a friend of all of ours and a former previous guest on the Be Extraordinary podcast, he posted a photo of a car that had just been detailed with Sebastian's contact information. I just hit him up. I said, hey, man, this is pretty cool. What's the story here? And he goes, yeah, man, really cool guy. Hit him up. And so I wind up hitting him up. And so he shows, we schedule it. We really didn't have a lot of dialogue in the preview, right? It's just like, hey, man, I'd love to have you come to my house and dial in my truck. And so he shows up and pulls up out front, and I'm out there with him. I'm chatting him up a little bit, and it was through conversation, and I'm just like, man, this kid's kind of sharp, right? I didn't realize his age yet. He says, yeah, I started this business when I was 14 on my bike. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, how old are you? He goes, I'm 16. I'm like, wait a minute. So, and you can guess from there. Immediately I'm like, this is going to be a story that we want to hear. Yeah. I think this is going to be a story that people are going to relate to, young, old, anywhere in between. But the funnest part of that meeting was I said, hold on a minute. I walk in my house. The kids are still on, Carson's still on summer break, but I walk in my house. It must have been 10 o'clock, 11. It wasn't a crazy early appointment, but the point was it was 10, 11 o'clock, something like that. I walk in my house. What do you think my 14-year-old's doing? Dude's out, right, sleeping. I wake him up. I said, hey.
At 11?
It was something late. It was too late in my book, right? So I walk in. I'm like, I need you to meet somebody. And then I've got my daughter, Annie. She's there. And I'm like, you guys, I got to have you meet somebody. So we walk outside. I'm like, I want you to meet Sebastian. Sebastian owns his own company, and he's a mobile detailer, and got a big following. And anyway, we spent a little bit there, and I'm like, Carson, how old do you think he is? Carson's like half asleep, rolling. I'm like, he's 16. So both my kids are like, oh God.
Yeah, I know why you brought us out here.
They're like, thanks a lot, Sebastian. And he saw it anyway. So that was it, man. And I just knew that we needed to learn more about your story, and super impressive the way that he drove up, super impressive, the work spoke for itself. And it wasn't even about the detail. The product was good, right? It was just more about the cool conversation, the attitude. I immediately gravitated toward him because I could just get a feel for what it means to be doing the thing and having a desire to go build something. So
that's awesome.
That's kind of the backstory, man. So I'm excited to jump into this and hear this story firsthand.
Yeah, man. Take us back to the 14-year-old then. Give us the why. And I think through the lens of, we hear 16-year-old, 14-year-old a lot. I'd also like to a little bit, throw the age aside, right, and say, talk to us as peers, man. I mean, I do want to give a shout out to your parents because I don't know them, but you coming in here and presenting yourself the way that you have already in the first 5-10 minutes meeting you, just a level of humility, asking great questions, a level of preparation. So it's no secret that you're having the early success that you're having. So, but bring us back to why'd you start the business? That 14-year-old, what was he thinking?
Well, that 14-year-old, he was thinking I want some money. I want to buy myself the shoes that I want, clothes that I want. Because all of my friends, I was the youngest, always in the group. They're all either in college, high school. At the time, I was, I want to say 8th grade, 7th grade, give or take. And I think this was on my birthday or my sister's birthday. We went to First Watch, and I was telling my dad, like, Dad, this is ending COVID. I want to make some money. So he was like, okay, cut grass, car wash. Cut grass equipment's a lot of money, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 for all the stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So the car wash, okay, bucket and the hose. I think he gave me like $50. $50 by the hose.
Seed money.
Yeah, one bucket, couple products, went on knocking. I made a little flyer. It was like $2 on a Canva. Made it myself in 30 minutes, and it worked. So knocking on 10, 20 doors a day. Five told me yes. I'm thinking it was because of the age, so that helped a lot. And then I made my first 500. I'll never forget. I made my first grand in like 2 weeks or something like that.
Oh wow!
Then yeah, it was because knock. That's what worked. Well, at the first, that's what worked. And then later on, went to 10,000. Got my first car before I got my license. That was still in the neighborhood. I was doing that all in one neighborhood. Then
wow.
Yeah, and then I was able to get my license. Went mobile. Then I reached 20, and I think close to 30. And then I'm selling the Audi now, but I think I got the truck, and that's what my work vehicle is at. So it was a very long process, but it's all about enjoying the process, the journey's what.
That's cool. So that was so. And by the way, scoot up for us just so we can hear you, because I don't want the listeners to miss this. So,
and one more thing before you ask that question, when you talk, try not to hear that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So just yeah.
So you 14 years old, you found a neighborhood because you're not driving around. You're on your bike.
On my mom's yellow bike with a basket on it. So yes. I had my backpack. You can see it.
Yes.
Backpack. There I had I think it was a couple products, a couple brushes, nothing much. And I had that on the basket. And then another backpack with the hose, and then the bucket in my hand. So it was like an extra 30 pounds from where I live in Claremont. There's a lot of hills.
Yes.
So I was already tired once I get to the customer's house. So that was, like that for a year, I want to say. Just slugging it out.
That's amazing.
And like that age, right, getting a car and buying yourself a car is such a big deal, right? Because I remember being that's kind of like all you care about that age. Like that car is that freedom mobile that – and so when you just started with the bike in the neighborhood, I think it's interesting the reason you chose detailing or car washes, because basically the overhead was less expensive, right? You were basically looking at two options. You said, okay, one I can do today, right? Because I have a bucket and I have a hose and I got this yellow bike, mom's goofy yellow bike. Right, and then the other one, it's like, man, I don't know if I could do that right away. How am I going to save the money and get to that? So let me just do the one that I can start, and then let me just go bang on doors, right? Let me go get a customer. I love that.
Yeah, I started like that, and like I said, the equipment was the most expensive part. So pressure washer, vacuum extractor, steamer, all that. And then once I started to offer ceramic coatings and paint corrections, that was I think another $1,500 just to offer that service. But you do 2 jobs, you get it right back, maybe double. So it wasn't too bad, but those are business expenses that are necessary.
So why the detailing business? Did you just have an opportunity to wash somebody's car? Did somebody tell you about it? Did you just come up with it? What was the thought?
My dad gave me that option, so I didn't know nothing about detailing. I just knew I've done my dad's car, my mom's car a couple times. That's really it. So I was just washing cars, and then I don't know how I came across it, but the detailing business, the mobile detailing business, and people the ones that I know, one of the richest men in the world is a detailer, and now he does aircrafts. So I started to look into it, mobile detailing, how they have their vans set up, and I always appreciate a nice car when I see it, because now I understand the work you had to do to drive that nice car. So it was funny because we went to Las Vegas and Los Angeles about a month ago, and Rodeo Drive, all you see is those cars. So I'm motivated. Like, I want to drive this car one day, you know? So, yeah, that's what, just knowing what it takes now to be able to do that. So, going back to your question about the detailing, so yeah, researching, and then there's where I was starting to set up everything in the car. And when I bought the car, I couldn't drive it yet. I needed, I think, 2 more months till I got my
So you bought the car before you had the license?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Really?
Yeah, it was in December, sometime December, and I bought the car, but I couldn't drive it till February 5th, which was when I got my license. But I got the car though. So, and my mom didn't let me drive it. My dad, I was like trying to convince my dad, at least in the neighborhood, because I was tired of the bike. I wanted to,
right.
And I had bought the equipment before I bought the car too. So the equipment I bought all at one time. That was maybe $2,000 maybe. But I wanted to use it. I was tired of the hose. I was tired of using the bucket. So if it was in the neighborhood, maybe they'll let me. Most of the time, no. But so 2 more months with the bike, and then was able to get.
So how long did it take you to make that first $10,000? You're scoot up for me too. This Michael won't pick up when you're back. How long did it take you before you made your first 10K?
I'm be honest with you. I didn't know how to run a business at this time, so I don't know.
Well, no kidding.
Yeah.
You didn't know how to drive a car yet, Sebastian.
Yeah, I had, exactly.
You just started shaving.
It's okay,
Yeah.
man.
So when I say I want to officially start, I officially started was when I got my license, which was 6-7 months ago. So,
So you were just making some money, and you were just, putting it in a shoebox.
Wasting it to what I needed to buy, what I wanted to buy. No budgeting, not recording how much I wasted on gas, none of that. So my dad didn't know this though. So he was like, okay, do you have a list of your customers? Do you have a list of how much you waste on product, gas? And I was like, no, I have none of that. And then he, showed me the ropes.
Yeah.
You have to have this, because he's a pastor, so he knows not only the preaching part, but the statistical things of what has to be done, how to run a business, how to run the church. So made me get an Excel sheet and write down all my customers' names, birthdays, address, emails, phone numbers, and I had around 50 plus, so that took a good amount of time. So that was the first thing. Then learning how to budget, all that came into it. So I'd say, I wouldn't know now, but so I started to actually budget around 4 months ago, maybe.
Man, so see, this is, and for those that are listening at home, this podcast has a wide net. Because it's called the Be Extraordinary podcast for a reason, right? We talk about epitomizing excellence in everything we do. We're seeking out people, individuals, concepts, philosophies, teachings, trainings that all epitomize how to reach the excellence within all of us, right? It's to push the limits past where we are today in order to reach for something more. So the people that listen to this podcast are genuinely interested in becoming better. And they appreciate the stories of other people becoming better. And I'm amazed by the story already, because the fact is, let me ask you, at 14, what grade is that?
It's like 7th, 8th?
Maybe. 8th grade.
So 8th grade. So what chance is there ever of learning budgeting at 8th grade? I mean, my dad is a financial advisor and is one of the most analytical guys you can possibly meet. And I didn't learn budgeting till I was in high school.
Yeah.
College for me, because I remember I swiped that debit card at Subway and it got declined. And my dad was like, yeah, because you only got so much money per week. And I was like, oh, that's budgeting.
Yeah, so the pain. But think about, you just named 3 different things that are at the core of just business in general.
Yeah.
And you're learning through, before we turned the camera on, we talked about being a practitioner of your craft, right? There's something about learning something about, business, or learning something about how to balance a checkbook, or learn about budgeting, in a classroom versus the actual act of doing it.
Exactly.
And the experience that you have at such a young age to do this is just absolutely invaluable, right? So let me ask you this. So obviously you're going along, you're making some money, you're hustling, right? This is a fun, exciting time because you're getting all this cash, right? This is exciting. But
counting it every night.
Yep.
I know it. It's awesome. And I used to measure how much money I had by how many J's you can get, it was Jordans, how many Jordans. So, but you've got this, you've got money coming in, you've got a customer base, but you're really kind of just running, customer to customer. We don't really have a process yet. talk us through the concept when your dad. First of all, your dad's must be an awesome dude. Who sets this up, sets the stage for you to learn these things.
Yep.
Once you did these, talk to us about, did your business change? What changed, if anything?
Everything, I want to say 100% of how it's all about being organized when it comes to a business. The way I was doing it, every text I got, I would go book the appointment, cool. Booking the appointment, going to the customer. I didn't know what I was doing. Well, I thought I knew what I was doing when it was coming in. I didn't know how much was coming in or how much was coming out. So once he taught me how to do it, he prepared me to be who I am to this day and to have where my business is at. Without him, it would have been overnight. Like I said, coming in, nothing coming out. I never knew how much I was making, but he taught me everything I needed to know as far as, like I told you, the budgeting. Once I organized that, I made it's called Square Appointments. So now they get automated text every, I think 2 days.
You have text automation?
Uh-huh.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so
just reminding their appointment.
Yeah, so
I got the whole
deal.
Mm-hmm. I got the whole experience, man. I mean, I didn't even text him. I communicated with him through Instagram.
Yep.
And I sent him a DM and I just said, "Hey man, I want to book something." The next thing I know, I got a confirmation. I was able to go in the thing, pick the day, and then I got a notice that here's the day you picked. A little while later, a couple days later, I got, hey, just a reminder, here's the day you picked. And then the morning of, I think I might have gotten a notice that said, hey, I'm on my way.
Wow.
Yeah, because you didn't meet him until he showed up to do the car.
I didn't even speak with him.
Yeah, and by the way, before I move on from that, you looked at Brett Eddy's post and then just went right to Sebastian's Instagram.
That's right.
DM'd him.
That's
and
right.
so in theory, he booked an appointment without even talking to you,
That's
just through a
correct.
referral from
That's exactly right.
Secrets of, there's so many ways you can get your name out there. A lot of the word to mouth works 80% of the time for me. That's how it was, because I didn't even have a phone when I started this business. I didn't get a phone till I was 15.
Dang.
Yeah, I had a school iPad and I had an email. So the way I would use it, okay, here's my card. I have my email if you would like to book again, or I can come back in 2 weeks. Hopefully you're home, and I'll show up. So I didn't,
so good.
Yeah, I wasn't able to have a phone
Dude.
until 15. So I was around a couple months without booking not one appointment. But I didn't even use the automated text until my dad said it straight, like, hey, you want to run a business? I'm going to lay it out for you. Right here, boom. So, it gets everything from... So a lot of the customers, not that they don't... Maybe they forget to text or they forget. It's not that they don't want to. It's not the thing that's on their mind. So this way they know it's coming up. Like, I have appointments already from next week. But
that's amazing. They
may forget. So with that, I'm able to, hey, your appointment's coming up. And it's another way. It looks more professional. It's not just anybody showing up. It's, hey, know how much it's going to cost, what time we're going to be there, how long it's going to take. So I fixed all of this so that it can, how the time gap it's going to take me to do the service that you picked, how much it's going to cost, how long it will take us for us to get there, etc.
So it's fair to say that, wow, that's the scheduling, the convenience, there's less friction, right? All this stuff kind of was a catalyst to once you started knowing your numbers. How many customers do I have?
Exactly.
How much money's coming in? How much am I spending? Where's my time? I could probably guess that whatever application you're using, you could predict how much you've got booked for the next 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm, exactly. It's very easy. It's free as well. It's Square Appointments. Mm-hmm. It's free. You have to pay to receive payment through there, but it takes away some. So
rather do that.
Yeah, Zelle or cash. That's the best way.
Yeah.
That way was the best way to, not just for the customer convenience and to set myself apart from other businesses, but also helps me because without those appointments, I'd forget a few when I didn't have this. So, I do want to be around a month or two booked up, so that I know what's gonna come. Right now, I'm around a week and a half, give or take, but definitely nowhere near where I want to be, though.
As far as you want to be able to predict what income the business is going to be able to have in the next month or two, is that what you mean?
Yes, and also know that I'm booked.
You want to be booked out.
Yeah, I want to be booked out.
Yeah, meaning you have more capacity left in your schedule, and you want to get it to where you don't have any more capacity.
Yeah, I want it to be like a whole lot of numbers coming in. So not just money-wise, but, like, people reaching out want to have 10, 15 texts a day, like, leads to book an appointment. That's the whole goal of it.
Yeah, I mean, every piece of space in your calendar is lost revenue.
Yeah, it's time.
It's
time is money.
Right. So,
do you after the neighborhood, right? Once you got your car, because obviously you started naturally with a discipline that you could only go so far, right? I'm just curious. Do you keep it your business in Claremont? Do you take appointments outside? Do you say no to appointments that don't fit? Tell me about that process.
I haven't organized that just yet because some days one is in Claremont, the other one is in Lake Nona. Then I have to go back to Claremont, so I don't organize it as well as where I can do. I don't know. Some days I'm just in Lake Nona, take care of, 4 or 5 cars there. Next day I'm in Claremont, so it's I'm wasting as far as, I guess, gas money, and that's a lot of time too. From where I am to Lake Nona, it's 50 minutes, so I'm losing a good amount of time there. But I'm everywhere.
Man, go ahead.
Well, no, I want to back up a second because I want to draw some attention to something. So you're 14 years old.
Yeah.
You're going door to door.
Mm-hmm.
You're just banging on doors saying,
and
you got a backpack, you got a hose, you got a bucket, you got some brushes, and you're literally going door to door saying, this is my mom's bike, this is the basket, this is my cool backpack, I want to wash your car. It was just that simple.
Yeah, what was the pitch?
But hold on a second. I want to hear the pitch. But so if I've got that right, so then you go out in the driveway, you're hooking up your hose to their water, you're scrubbing a car, you're drying it.
Yep.
You're probably your service. You talked about your service offering was limited back then, so you weren't detailing insides.
Nope.
You had no vacuum, so you're literally just washing the outside of a car.
Yep.
I mean, it's like the most simple thing ever.
I think it was like $5-10 back then, give or take.
That's what I thought.
Was that pre-inflation or was that
pre-inflation? but so then, and the more doors you beat on, the more $5 bills and $10 bills you got, and then as you progressed and you got your car and you started making some money, and you started buying equipment with the idea that you're going to build out of the trunk. And I'm saying this because I've seen it. You built out the trunk of that car.
Yep.
My vacuum goes here, my steamer goes here, my bucket of supplies goes here, right? So, I mean, everything in his cords are wrapped up. I mean, if you look at his trunk, I mean, you can tell he's done some research because in those mobile detailing vans, everything has a place. I saw that, and you said that earlier. That's why I wanted to come back to it. So I look at his trunk as he's unloading, getting ready to go. I mean, I'm like, it's not just thrown in there. I mean, every single thing, you can tell he's invested in good equipment. Yep. It's all there. It's all dialed in, and he takes good care of it, right? So it's like as he took something out to draw. So my point is this, that evolution, and I want to get to the pitch, certainly, but the evolution from the bike going door to door, $5 to $10, because all I can do is wash the love bugs off your car. I can't dial in your
not even some of them
I can't even dial in your leather seats and give you, coconut smell, to being able to add to that product offering, get your car, and then it's like the sky's the limit. But the pitch never changed, right? It was still a door-to-door thing. And then just recently with the technology you've added, and now the social media presence, you've got some leverage there, people realizing who you are. So number one, the pitch. Number two, how's the social media taken off?
All right, so number one, the pitch was knock on the door, wait. I think it was like 20 seconds I gave it. If they don't answer, move on. It'll be, hello, my name is Sebastian. I'm 14 years old. Starting my car wash business. Here are my prices. If you would like, I also had a dog walking or just anything I can get some type of cash in. It wasn't just car wash and that little thing. It was like kitchen cleaning. I don't even remember. But yeah, it was whatever. And but obviously the only one that I guess you can say you're comfortable with was the car wash one. So like I got a lot of no's. So be 10 no's before I got one yes. But my dad taught me, keep going. He told me, do not come home until you made $100.
Come on.
But it takes me a while to make it at least 10 cars because $10 a car, maybe even
one yes per 10 no's. So a
ratio appears.
I was going to say the ratio appears.
Man, I was getting out at around 8:30. Got home I remember one day my mom got so mad. I got home at 7 p.m. But I came home with, I think I was my second day I started. I came home with, I think it was like $220 or something.
Second day.
My second day. Knocking on doors. $10 car washes. That was a lot of car washes. Again, I'm not going to say I was doing a good job because I only had very little equipment. I was doing what I can. Sun is out there. It's not purified water, so the water spots was. But they respected the hustle, and they knew. There I understood why they said yes. Well, now I understand
why did they say yes, Sebastian?
Because they see a lot of the people that would answer the door, they respect. They even the no's that I got, they would be no, but I respect the hustle. I had a lot of customers that would gift me. My first vacuum I got was from a customer.
Wow.
Because I couldn't offer that service, so if I was like, if you have a vacuum, I can do the inside for $10, and he went to Home Depot and bought me a vacuum.
Wow.
So, so people wanted to help.
They wanted to help. They liked it. They understood. They understood my initiative. They understood what I was chasing, what I wanted.
It's kind of like this podcast, right?
Be extraordinary.
We want you to be on this podcast. We want to help you because we respect the hustle, because you inspiring people. Sometimes we see people doing something, there's a little piece inside of us that says, man, I love that because I wish I was doing that. Or there's a piece that says, I used to be doing that. Or, man, I respect that because I am doing that.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like pretty much almost everybody fits in that category, except for the negative people, they fit in a woo-woo weird category.
Yeah,
so
get them out of there.
Yeah, they're the birds. Yeah, so, but, they always exist.
Cuckoos?
The cuckoos.
Yep.
The cuckoos. But, man, that's a great example. It's like, there's a lot of people that say everybody's out for themselves, but I disagree. I know these guys, I completely disagree with that. Most people want to help, in a situation where somebody sees somebody doing something awesome. And, it's funny, whether you're 14 or whether you're, 65, that doesn't change, man. People respect people that are on the grind, doing the deal.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and dude, by the way, I would love to make a commitment to you to get you to that 2-month capacity, even just through our network or being on this platform. And I'll be the first customer. I'll call you after. I'll actually just book through your appointment setting. I would love for you to come detail my wife and I's car, and then I'll get some friends in the neighborhood and get you that 2-month capacity.
Well, why don't we just do everybody in the office just come here and knock out 20 cars at one time?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Done.
There you go.
Yeah, good call, Tay.
One thing that strikes me about your story that I borrow from, and it's the surprising. I love doing this podcast because you're surprised by conversations. You come in with, for me, I come in with, what I perceive to be assumptions about how this conversation is going to go. And I literally am inspired. And I'm connecting so many dots in my own head because I'm thinking about your story on that yellow bike with the bucket. And I'm hearing all this stuff that, I didn't even have a business. It was this hustle. And then all of a sudden I have 50 customers. All of a sudden day 2 I have $200. And all of a sudden I've created this demand in this market that didn't exist before I kind of went out, right? And I think so many people right now, me included, I'm guilty of this, is everyone talks about optimization. What's the best way I can do something? And we learned from a mentor, it's like, do first things first and do them in their proper order. And I'm just so reminded that creating the demand first, right? Maximize your effort, maximize your activity on day 1, right? Just to a ridiculous amount. And then optimize your operations after that. And then for me, I look at that and scale relentlessly. It's like maximize your activity, optimize your operations, and then scale relentlessly. And every phase has, things that you're honoring within that phase. And I'm just thinking about if you tried to optimize first, it's like, okay, but you don't even know what you're doing. You don't know that when you go out and wash a car and you don't have purified water, that there's water spots, right? You don't know that until you're in the activity. Right? So you're learning all this while you're hustling and you're maximizing your activity. So there you can get the feedback from the customer to optimize, right? Then once you optimize and you're kind of learning more about your customer, now you have this predictable model that you're starting to get to that phase of your business. And you go, okay, well, what does that look like? How do I maximize my capacity? How do I, so I'm just fascinated by it's transferable in any business. And I love the simplicity of the car detailing business versus what we do versus to listeners this podcast and what they do is to say that philosophy translates big time.
Exactly. And how you said it yourself, from the bucket with the hose, that was one service. Now I have around 7 that I can offer, starting from $40 to $1,000 for one service. So I learned how to do paint corrections. I got my license for that I think around 4 months ago. And then I want to get my ceramic coating one as well. I learned on YouTube, but it looks good to have the certificate as well. So, yeah.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Of course you learned on YouTube.
And that's another thing, man, right? Like you start with one service. Here's the deal. I wash your car for $5-10.
Yep.
Yeah, but Sebastian, do you do X, Y, and Z? No, I don't. I just wash your car for $5-10 because I got to do enough of that, get enough experience, and then I can offer this suite of products. And otherwise you come in, you try to think about all these products and pricing and these packages that you should do, and then you go, okay, now I got to go get a customer. It's like, no, wrong order. Yep. Go get a customer. Learn what they want.
Yeah, my dad always taught me, doesn't matter if I don't know nothing. are you willing to learn from scratch? That's what matters. That's what he always taught. Like, if you're willing to work, if you have the work ethic, then I know you're gonna learn, put the time in to learn, listen. That was the one thing. Me and my dad, we bump heads a lot because I don't listen. So he would always say, yo, you gotta read a book. You gotta this, that. And for school, I don't like school.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Yo,
you're in school right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right now I'm in school. I do Monday and Wednesday, but we'll touch base on that as well. But
I'm talking about your business, man.
I knew that's what I was talking about too.
School of greatness right there.
Yeah,
shout out to
that's my school.
Yeah. I mean, what's fun is that everything we're talking about, everything you're saying, is like Tay said, transferable to a very large business.
Yeah.
The challenge is, you get into these larger operations, everybody tries to make it way more complicated than it's supposed to be. It gets so fancy. It's just like, you wish even us, it's like you make it so complicated. There's just all these distractions and whistles and fancy and this and that. It's like,
how about the pureness? To your point, the pureness of, I knocked on 10 doors, they all said no.
There you go.
But the 11th one said yes. Yep. So I knew that if I knocked on 11 doors, one would say yes. 1 out of 11.
There's a ratio that will appear.
There's a ratio that appears.
Yep.
And it's like when I do that enough, I know I've got to make 100 a day before I go home. And then number one, the callus that helps build. But number two, it's like now you take all those no's, you can go back to them as maybe it's just that they want to see you come back a couple times, right? And maybe some of those no's converted to yeses, but then when you went back, it wasn't just I was washing cars for $5 or $10. Now I can vacuum your car. The simplicity and pureness of the story here, to me, is just so relevant. Aside from the simplicity of the data and what that shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and to answer your second question, sorry about that, the social media part, there's a lot of ways, like I said, to get it out there. But there's a lot of questions you have to ask, like which one customer acquisition cost, which one is more profitable for me, which one gets the most reach. So right now I'm on Instagram. I'm about to get verified on Google so I can have it on there. Facebook is kind of harder. And my business slowed down a lot because about a month ago, Facebook doesn't allow you to sell your services on Marketplace. And I was getting 5-10 texts a day just on Marketplace. They took it down. Now you can't do that because a lot of scammers and stuff like that. But so that took a toll. But now, okay, how do you adjust accordingly to that? Instagram, paid ads, Google, there's SEO. So you can, the reviews, Google reviews. Okay, how do I get, when you search up car detailing, I want my Q7 audio has to be the first one out there. How do you make that happen? Get the most reviews. You don't even have to do cars. I can ask 10 people that I know, hey, can you do a review for me just so I can, that's how it starts. And then you get your actual customers to do it. You pay, I don't know, $100 to be on the SEO so that when you search up just car detailing, Q7 comes up, So that's how you adjust it currently. And word to mouth. Word to mouth is my favorite one.
Right?
Yeah.
Man. So I have so many questions here. Let's try to unpack this. Number one, I agree with Rod, right? Like, you don't have to be good. You just have to know your numbers, right? Because there is a ratio that will appear. But then after you do that and you know your ratios, once you have your numbers, you can compete, which is, I know you says that a lot, but well, you know your numbers, boom. All right, now I know that if I just knock on 10 doors, I'm going to get one that says yes. But what I lack in skill, I make up in numbers, right? Yep. That's a philosophy that we've lived by forever, right? I don't have to be the most skillful. I just have to know my numbers, and then I'm good. I just outwork everybody. Mm-hmm. And then over time, you get better. Over time, you're like, okay, cool. I can pick up Google. Oh, I know the SEO. Oh, I can do this. I can do this. And so now maybe it's not 10. Maybe it's 5. And it gets to 3. It gets to 2. But to Taylor's point, right, fill the capacity and then optimize afterwards. I just love the idea that there's probably some people that are either listening to this or they have kids or, they're going to be in this stage. And there's so many excuses as to why you can't do something. And you're an excuse killer. You're just an excuse killer, man.
Absolutely.
I remember going and knocking on doors so I could pick weeds. But I'm thinking about the proximity. It was always just like in my neighborhood. It wasn't like in someone else's neighborhood. Like that's a whole different level. Yeah. But, the idea that you don't have to have all this, equipment. You don't have to have, you don't have to order a product before you sell it. you can sell something before you have the product, right? There is no limitation to your ability to create value. It just has to do with your, the limit on your creativity, if you will.
Yeah.
Dude,
100%.
Another thing I'm thinking about, your teenage self does this better than 30s, 40s year olds. I mean, it's like you said, you complicate it, right? Like, it's almost like the more you have available to you, the more you try to complicate it, because it can't be that easy. It can't be that simple that you would go knock on doors, find a ratio, and then find it, right? There's got to be something more complicated and sexy about it. And I'm just fascinated to see these aren't struggles. What we're talking about, right? These aren't struggles of teenagers starting businesses. Yep. These are challenges that we're talking about of grown men and women that start businesses, that have families, that have mortgages, that have bills to pay, and they freaking complicate it. And it's amazing to me that somebody who's listening to this, look, I've been there. I draw inspiration from your 14-year-old self that says, I have a bucket and a bike, and let's go. And we'll figure the rest out later. And it's a human behavior thing. And it's just amazing to me that I'm so thrilled that you jumped into action. And your dad's going to be the next person on this podcast, because clearly he's been got a lot of shout outs and stuff, man. So talk to me. So Q7, where'd that name come from? You said it'd been a couple years. You started making money. How'd you name it? What's the story behind Q7 Auto Detailing?
I've had around 3 names. First one is the one on the flyer. It's SB At Home Car Detailing for my name. Then it was Perfection 7 Auto Detail. The logo, I didn't really like it. It was very, looks like I could have made it, And then my third one, this is a lady from church. My mom put me in contact with her. I liked it simple, to the point, professional. And then, so Q7, Q stands for quality. 7 is God's number. My dad's a pastor, and I like to get a relationship with God as well, because a risk and a little bit of faith is what gets me here. It gets anyone anywhere.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's what it is. He always says in his sermons, the one thing is jump in the water. So, but you need a little bit of faith to jump in water.
Absolutely.
And I have what I was able to do, because I was younger, so I had no obligations, no responsibilities. Somebody older that has a family, it's harder to make that leap of faith. But like I said, you hold God's hand through it. It's gonna be all right. So that's why, in honor of my father, the spiritual father, then 7 for his number, which is perfection and completion. Yep.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Nobody knows it, but
they do now.
They do now.
Yeah, now they do. But a lot of my customers, they just quality 7, quality. That's what they. So, but obviously it has a deeper meaning for me.
That's
outstanding.
Dope. Very cool.
So shift gears for a second. So you're 16, right? So maybe there's some people thinking, well, how are you out building a business? You're 16. You got to be going to school.
Yep.
Talk to us what school looks like.
School is interesting. So last year, when I was on the bike, that one it was pretty slow, because I was going to actual school, Montverde Academy. I was playing basketball there at the time. So during the summers, mostly when I did it, and then after school, maybe do a car or 2 if I had the chance, and then go train, do some homework. But it wasn't really moving that much. I think it was 10th grade came along. No, 9th grade came along. 10th grade. I did homeschooling, so I can do the business, go in.
Was that the reason you decided to do homeschooling?
Yeah. I wanted to go all in with this. I was still playing basketball at the time, but I didn't know which one I was going to choose. But I knew I can do both if I did homeschool. So, but it didn't work out. Every week, my teachers will call my parents, your son's not doing any of the work. What's going on? But they, obviously, I'm out there working. I didn't want to do school. It was nothing.
No money.
Yeah, no money. I wasn't learning anything there I think will help me in the long run. School doesn't teach you how to build a business. School doesn't teach you how to go out there and get it. My dad teaches me how to hustle, be the hardest worker in the room without even saying a word. But you walk in a room, everybody knows that. Oh yeah, he's doing it. Yeah. So that's things you learn. Reading books. My college, my university, my school is on YouTube. Reading books about marketing, how to build a business, listening to podcasts about Elon Musk. Love that guy.
That's your guy, huh?
Yeah, Elon, Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know if you're familiar with Jose Zúñiga. He's owner of Essentials and a co-owner of Manscaped, I believe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But he's Hispanic, so I can relate to him a lot. He started with nothing.
Big entrepreneur, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he started in his garage making videos. Now he's in New York with $1 million bodega, all the luxury cars you can think of outside.
Doing the deal.
Yeah, I've been watching him since I was, I don't know, 13 maybe. So
When I was your age, I was looking up to sports figures. I was, and I just such a cool. So I like the term business is my sport because I relate to that. Like every day I get up and I want to compete. It's just I love it. I eat, I breathe, I sleep. Everything I think about all the time, and I don't apologize for it. And I'm just absolutely obsessed with it. And I just think about this at your age, right? There's all these sports icons that maybe I had growing up. You now have these entrepreneurial figures that you're following. Yeah. You're modeling these people that have done this deal. So I just can't imagine what the exponential impact of that is over 5-6 years of studying those people in their craft, right? Like I used to study, crossovers, and my crossover would get better. Or I'd study my jump shot, and my jump shot would get better.
You know what's so useful about that, though, is like as a 13-year-old, you're following Michael Jordan, hoping you're going to be Michael Jordan.
Right.
And likely you're not going to be Michael Jordan.
Right.
But, and I'm not saying you're going to be Elon Musk either, but I mean, I sure would put my chances into what you could develop from a personality and what you could, you can learn how to market. You can learn, so it's like, it just seems like it's just, and I was the same way. For me, it was golfers, right? I mean,
But it's binary. You either make the league or you don't.
Absolutely.
Right?
But if you don't, what do you have?
Someone else is going to tell you if you can make the league or not, right? But in the entrepreneurial game, in this sport that you get we get the privilege in this country to play, nobody gets to tell you whether you make the league or not.
Or when it's over.
It doesn't matter.
Up to you.
You get to play on the same court as Michael Jordan. We're all playing on the same court. Whether you were able to put up the same amount of points or not is not the game. The reality is you get to step on imagine going to the NBA and be like, I get to play on the same court as the best players in the world, today. And we get to do that in the entrepreneurial game. So yes, to your point, what a way to spend your energy and what an advantage to have an interest in that, because it's a lifelong fun game. It's a lifelong fun, prosperous, impactful game that you're learning.
Yeah, you got to enjoy the process. That's what molds you. It's not the end point. That's also amazing. Well, there's not really an end point in this game because opportunities are never ending. But that's what you do during the process. When you get the shot, what are you gonna do with it? So, and going back to answering your question, now this year I started school Monday. So losing a good amount of monthly income, but I have to do classes.
At 16, I'm losing a lot of
talk
income.
About hiring somebody, man. We'll talk offline
you're
about hiring somebody.
You're going to be in economics class, and they're going to talk about opportunity cost. And he's like, Doc, let me tell you about opportunity cost.
Me being here is costing me money.
Me being here is opportunity
Can anybody explain opportunity cost? Yeah, man. As a matter of fact, I got to go.
Yeah. I can tell you exactly how much money I'm losing. Listen, man, stay in school, finish school. It's important. It's the contextual education that glues everything together.
Absolutely.
You won't think that it's impactful or that it's relatable, but it's all this abstract information that kind of brings everything together at the end. And I wish somebody would have told me that when I was your age, because I felt the exact same way. It's like, how is this practically going to get me to where I want to go? And I'm still using stuff today that I go, shit, that's why I learned that, So, and what it does is it teaches you all the things that are necessary to problem solve, which obviously you just have that from a street smarts perspective. You obviously are very intuitive with that. But I don't want to downplay the importance of school because it's important. But I also want to, light the flame that you already have started to say that the stuff that you're interested in, what you're doing from a self-education standpoint, is so much more valued in the marketplace than a piece of paper or a degree. We talked about Lorenzo here, and he does all the content production that we do, and he's an absolute stud. He's one of the most impressive young people that I've met. And there's a difference between learning about something in a classroom versus the actual practicing of it. And as far as I'm concerned, man, you're one of the best examples of somebody who's in the practice. So I'm just super stoked that you're on the show. I'm super stoked that for anybody that listens to this and anybody that's got either a kid at home or themselves and thinks to themselves that they've got an excuse for not getting out there and hustling, man, you are impactful example. So where can people find you? I mean, you're in Claremont, obviously. You're in Lake Nona. If somebody wants to reach out to you for services, where do they go?
Got to be in Winter Park.
Yeah, it can be anywhere in Florida. There's gonna be a distance fee, but yeah, anywhere in Florida. So I'm on Instagram at Quality 7 Auto Detail. Everything together.
Quality 7
Auto Detail.
Auto Detail. Quality 7 Auto Detail.
And is the 7 the number?
Yeah, 7 the number. On YouTube, same thing. Google is gonna come out in around a week or so, and then yeah, all my information is on there.
Perfect. Well, we'll put your contact information in the body of the podcast to make sure people can find you. We'll throw it up on social too. We'll give you some shout outs, and we'll have you here to wash everybody's car for the business. That'll be a nice little stop.
Fun to get that set up on a schedule.
Yeah, man. Let me ask you one last question before we wrap it up. What are you most excited about right now?
Most excited about right now? What's to come? Yep.
The future.
The future.
Love that.
Yeah, my dad always teaches me you prepare yourself for the things that you want. So like I was saying before about when I appreciate when I see a nice car, because now I understand the blood, sweat, and tears and commitment you had to do to get that nice car. So prepare yourself enough to get the lifestyle that you want.
It's almost like the car isn't really the important thing. It's what it takes to get the car now.
It has it's a piece of metal on 4 wheels. But
what it represents is awesome.
My mom always tells me about never work for money. She's like my I'm gonna get you down to earth person.
Yes.
And when I'm out, I get home very late sometimes, and then I go boxing from 7 to 9. She rarely sees me sometimes, and she's like, "Hey, I miss you," So she gets me down to earth a lot. And she always talks about that though. Never work for money. My dad says the same thing, but instead of the moral standpoint, he'll be like, "Okay, but make money work for you."
There you go. I love that.
Yeah, same thing. But my mom was always read your Bible, make sure you're getting that done. Don't work for money. It's what reach can you get to people by what you're doing? The money's gonna come.
It's just a tool, man.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Tool. You said it. But it's worth restating. When my early journey as an entrepreneur, I always thought there was going to be a finish line.
Yep.
When I get here, we'll be good. And what we've realized is, and what I've realized is that there's no finish line, right? Yep. And not only is it when we will get here, it's not about when you get there or what you get. The joy in the process, as you said, it's about who you become. And who you're becoming as a 14-year-old, and 15-year-old, and 16-year-old, and what's to come, that excitement about the future, is you're becoming somebody that can get and have and do anything you want because you're willing to pay the price, focus on your attention in the process. And as a reminder, after speaking to you today, man, super, super extraordinary.
Thank you.
Yeah,
exactly like you said it. There's no finish line. I sat down with my dad and made a list of goals, short term and long term. And as I go down, I check them off. So the first one was, I think it was to make my first 1,000. Check it off. And then first car, check it off. And then my favorite one so far is getting the truck, because I had programmed, my list of goals was to get it by December. I got it 5 months early.
Wow.
So that was a big one for me. And then I add on as I go. I never thought I would be on a podcast at 16 years old. And
heck yeah.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites for sure.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah, I wrote it, I printed it out, but as far as I go, as I go along the journey, I add them on paper. So I added this one on paper, getting my certification for paint correction. I added that on paper. So you check them off, and the more checks is that's what I like about it, because something that I was able to create with the help of the Lord and my dad.
It's tangible.
You're a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
You're a pleasure.
Thank you.
Man, this is why we wanted to create this platform, because I don't care if you're in the sports game, you're in the entrepreneur game, you're in the sales game, you're in the church game, you're in whatever game it is. It's about having an impact, and the only way we can have the maximum impact is if we continue to progress and become more. Right? We can only give to the capacity of which we've grown, and that journey of becoming more is such a fun one, because you're going to have such a big reach, as you would say. So thank you for being on the show. Thank you for spending the time with us. And guys, thank you for tuning in. I know you're going to love this one. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share this with somebody today. I don't ask all the time, but I will ask you today because this gentleman is an inspiration, and he is somebody that can make an impact, and his story is something that can make an impact. So touch somebody today, send it to them. And, sometimes it's just all we need to realize that the excuses are simply just made up in our minds. So thank you for being an example. Thank you for being on the show. So,
having me.
Guys, always a pleasure. Remember, don't be ordinary. Life is meant to be extraordinary. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.